Yesterday on ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown, Adam Schefter reported that he expects NFL teams to call and inquire about hiring Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian. Today on the BK Show, I'm here to tell you that Sark isn't going anywhere. What's up, guys and gals? Welcome in to another edition of the BK Show on YouTube. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner. Hope everyone's having a fantastic start to the week. We are just 4 days away from Texas taking on Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl with a trip to the national championship on the line. We'll talk way more about that game as the week goes on, but we've got to hit the big headline from the weekend. Adam Schefter reporting that he thinks NFL teams are going to ask about Steve Sarkisian. And of course, that blew up on social media, sending Texas fans into a frenzy and sending Oklahoma and A&M fans into a prayer circle. Now, before I give you a bunch of reasons on why Steve Sarkisian is not leaving Texas, yeah, you can get your Wolf of Wall Street gifs ready to go. He ain't effing leaving. Let me start by saying this is a good thing for Texas football. The NFL is the highest level of football on the planet. There are only 32 NFL head coaching jobs that exist in the world, and they don't just give those jobs out to nobodies. Well, most of the time. Jim Tomsula and Jason Garrett. Never mind. They don't just give these jobs out to nobodies, right? The fact that NFL teams, plural, are interested in hiring your head coach is a great sign. No NFL team wanted to speak with Charlie Strong when he was at Texas. No NFL team wanted to speak to Tom Herman when he was at Texas. Why? Because those guys weren't good enough. To get NFL looks as a college guy, you've got to be damn good at your job. And Steve Sarkisian is damn good at his job. NFL people have seen the work that he's done in Austin and the turnaround that's happened with the Texas Longhorns since Steve Sarkisian got here in 2021. And they want some of that with their teams. And you understand why. And oh, by the way, look, offense sells in the NFL, right? The league is more offensive than ever before. Some would argue offensive, but y'all know what I mean. A lot of the teams that just made the playoffs have offensive-minded, play-calling head coaches, and Steve Sarkisian is the offensive guru, right? His offense has a ton of pro-style elements, too. It's not just like an air raid deal that you hope could translate to the next level. No, there are a lot of pro elements in what Steve Sarkisian does here in Austin. And, of course, his track record of developing quarterbacks speaks for itself, going all the way back to Carson Palmer at USC to the work that he's done with Quinn Ewers at Texas and a bunch of guys in between. So no surprise at all that the NFL is interested in Sark. And once again, that's the sign of a healthy program. You want other teams trying to poach your coaches, right? You want other teams trying to make your assistant coaches head coaches, and you want, the NFL trying to come after your head coach in college because, well, once again, that means he is doing a really, really good job. So it's an honor for Sark. I think it's a little flattering for Texas Longhorn fans that people are trying to copy what we've got going on here in Austin. Now, with that being said, here are 4 reasons why Steve Sarkisian isn't effing leaving. Number 1, money. Steve Sarkisian is set financially. His base salary this year, $10.4 million. With the incentives that he has in his deal, he's already close to $11.5 million this year. If Texas beats Ohio State on Friday, it'll be more than that. If Texas wins a national championship 2 weeks from today, it'll be even more than that. But even if you don't include the incentives, just taking a look at the $10.4 million base salary that Sark made in 2024, that number is higher than 23 head coaches in the NFL. Not 2 or 3, 23 head coaches in the NFL made less than Steve Sarkisian this year. Okay, so Sark is in a great spot. He's one of the 4 highest paid coaches in college football. And hey, there's a chance Chris Del Conte rips up this current deal and gives Sark something else once this season is over, if this season goes the way I think we all hope that it does. I'm also not sure an NFL team would money whip Sark, right? He isn't proven at the NFL level. So maybe teams could see a little bit of risk involved, and maybe they're not willing to make Sark one of the highest paid head coaches in the National Football League. I mean, look around the NFL. Zach Taylor with Cincinnati, Dan Quinn with Washington. Those guys have coached in Super Bowls before. They each made $4.5 million this year. So there's a chance that Sark would be taking a pay cut to go to the NFL. I don't know if he'd be so keen on doing that. And look, if this were to turn into a bidding war, what do they say? Texas has all the money in the world that isn't under the Vatican. I think CDC and the powers that be at Texas would be more than willing to pay whatever they have to keep Steve Sarkisian around Austin. So, number one, the money. Sark's in a great spot financially. I think he can make more money at Texas than he can in the NFL. Number two, who is Steve Sarkisian's biggest mentor? Who's the guy that Sark gives the most credit to when asked about the success he's having as a head coach? Who was the guy that helped turn Steve Sarkisian's career and life around? It's Nick Saban. You know, Nick Saban, the same guy that had a bunch of success in college, tried his hand in the NFL, and then came back to college within a year because he didn't like the NFL and he didn't think his model was going to be successful in the NFL. Yeah, that Nick Saban, that of course Steve Sarkisian worked under for a few years at Alabama. Those guys talk all the time. Those guys are great friends. And Steve Sarkisian knows what the NFL is like in large part because of Nick Saban. And he knows that it's way easier to build a program the way that you want in college than it is in the NFL, especially at a place like Texas, right? We're not talking about Baylor here, Matt Rule leaving Baylor to go take a gig in the NFL. No, no disrespect to Baylor, although, sometimes they deserve it. This time they're off the hook. But at a place like Texas, with all of the money and all of the resources that Texas has right now, especially in the NIL era of college football, it is way easier to build and sustain success in college football than it is at the NFL. You compare the resources that Sark has at Texas versus the other teams in college football, and then you look at the level playing field that exists in the NFL. Like the differences between Texas and the other college football teams and the 32 teams in the NFL, big difference. So, yeah, I think Sark is going to lean on Nick Saban, what he's learned from Coach Saban, and they might even have a conversation or two that they already have in the past. Number three, job security. And the NFL is fickle, man. I mean, we just saw Gerard Mayo lose his job after one season in New England. And it's not like he's the only one and done coach that we've seen in the NFL in recent years. Hell, look at the Houston Texans. They went through three coaches in the span of 3 years. Like, guys get hired and fired every 2 or 3 years in the National Football League. It's just how it works. We all want success and we all want it right now. If Sark keeps winning at Texas, he's not going anywhere. And going back to point number two, it's easier to achieve prolonged success in college than it is in the league. Think about the NFL. It's set up for parity. The NFL wants parity every year. They want every team to go 8-8. Well, I guess 9-8 or 8-9 now. The way the draft order works, the way the schedules work every year, the way the salary cap works. Like the NFL is built, for every team to be even. When you're at a big time institution like Texas, the Longhorns are on a different playing field than a lot of the other teams in Division I FBS college football. Obviously, Steve Sarkisian has built a program that is primed to continue to win. There's lasting power here at Texas. Remember, a lot of folks after last season were thinking, oh, maybe this is a one-year bit. Maybe this is a flash in the pan. Oh, congrats, Texas. You had one great season, but we know what you've been for the last 12 or 13 years before this one. Let's see if you can actually find some continued success. Well, Steve Sarkisian and Texas, the only team that made the playoff last year that made the playoff this year. The only team that was in the Final Four last year that's in the Final Four this year. Obviously, last year only 4 teams made the playoff, but you catch my drift here. Look at the recruiting classes. I mean, the last 4 classes for Texas ranked number 5, number 3, number 6. And oh, by the way, Steve Sarkisian just brought in the number 1 recruiting class in America in the 2025 cycle. That, paired with the ability Texas has to get players out of the transfer portal, paired with the strong NIL backbone that the Longhorns have in place right now, this thing can continue to roll for a long time. Like Heisenberg said, Nothing stops this train. If Steve Sarkisian were to take an NFL job, I mean, look at the jobs that are open right now. You got the Giants are probably going to be open. The Jets are open. The Saints, the Jaguars. You've got some questionable franchises. You've got some quarterback questions. You've got bad ownership. You've got financial problems. You've got all sorts of issues that already exist that Steve Sarkisian doesn't have to deal with at Texas. Remember, he put in a ton of time and effort into fixing the problems that were infiltrating the Texas football program. He's worked on that for a long time to get Texas where it is right now. If he leaves Texas to go take an NFL job, he's going to be taking over a bad NFL franchise, and they're going to be expecting him to turn things around basically in the blink of an eye or the snap of a finger. There's a lot of risk in doing that. Once again, the NFL is fickle. They will get rid of you very, very quickly. So that's number 3, job security, right? Sark has built it up at Texas, and in the NFL, it feels like there's less job security than ever before. And then number 4, why Steve Sarkisian isn't going anywhere, Arch Manning. I mean, speaking of quarterback situations, why go to a quarterback situation that could be a crapshoot in the NFL when the one you have in your own backyard is exactly what you've been building, right? Going from Quinn Ewers to Arch Manning, this is exactly what Steve Sarkisian has wanted. Arch Manning is one of the biggest recruiting wins of Sark's career. It's one of the most highly touted recruits in the history of college football. I'm not breaking any news to anybody here. Sark did all of the work to get Arch to Austin, and then he's done all of the work to keep Arch in Austin, despite seemingly every journalist out there writing a story about Arch Manning hitting the portal. Sark has put in all of that work to get and keep Arch here, and you're telling me that's for him to leave Austin? Telling me he doesn't want to coach this dude? Come on, man. No chance. I did find it funny. I Googled Steve Sarkisian's name after I heard Adam Schefter's report yesterday. And of course, one of the top news stories was 5 transfer portal destinations for Arch Manning if Steve Sarkisian leaves for the NFL. People just can't help themselves, man. So Sark put in a lot of work to get Arch to commit, to get Arch to stay committed, to get Arch to sign, and obviously to keep Arch here for a couple of years. I don't think he wants to miss out on the opportunity to coach a Manning, especially this Manning. So all 4 of those reasons, hell, there's a lot more that I could point to as well. And really the all-encompassing thought is what I said a couple of minutes ago. Steve Sarkisian has already built Texas into a winner. He's put in so much time and energy to get the Longhorns where they are right now. And I believe that he believes that this thing can keep going for a long, long time. Why would he give that up? All of that work would be for naught if he goes and takes over an NFL team right now, where he basically has to do the same thing with less resources on a shorter timeline and potentially with less money to be made as well. Just don't think it's going to happen. 10.5 million reasons why Sark's staying, and hell, there may be even more than that after this year. So I want to hear from y'all. What do you think? Any fear that Steve Sarkisian could leave Texas after this season is over? You think he takes his talents to the NFL, or do you agree with me and think that Sark is in this thing for the long haul? I want to hear from y'all in the comments below. Please like this video if you haven't already. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. We are on the road to 1,000 subs. Just started this thing less than a week ago, and the support has been overwhelming. So appreciate you guys and everything y'all have done to this point, and excited to grow with y'all. The BK Show is your one-stop shop for all things Texas Longhorns on YouTube. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate you guys watching once again. And remember, when you watch the BK Show, you rule. See y'all tomorrow. Hook 'em.